a Look, the podcast bringing back a personal pop culture recommendation with Rin and Rojo.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Give It a Look. We are now officially over the 9-episode hump, which statistically means that this show is going to go on forever and ever in perpetuity and then be syndicated like Seinfeld or something. My name is Rojo, and I'm here with my co-host Rin. Rin, what is the summer film that you are most looking forward to seeing?
I'm actually looking forward to seeing No Time to Die, the new James Bond movie. That'll be really good because that was supposed to come out quite a while ago.
It was. Many delays.
Due to COVID, it's obviously been pushed back. It's funny, I've been watching a few interview shows where they kind of can't remember what they did or what's happened because it's been so long since they filmed. So,
Who's doing the theme song?
Billie Eilish, I believe.
Ah, Billie Eilish, yes.
Why did you run for me? How did you help me?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
She's very talented, very talented.
Oh, for sure. I'm doing this in jest. I think for me, it would be Dune, which has also faced delays and is out in most of the rest of the world at the moment. Guillermo del Toro's Nightmare Alley in January might be worth a look as well. Always an interesting visual spectacle.
It would be nice to go back to the theatre and the cinemas and, you know, the drive-ins. I like to go to the drive-ins because, you know, you can kind of wear whatever you want. You can wear your pajamas and nobody can judge you.
We have our first troll.
Ooh.
I think. Our first online troll. Shall we have a look?
Yep. It's come out from under the bridge. All right.
Yep. So on our Insta, our good friend Next Gen Dad said, I love the podcast. Awesome to get new recommendations. Rojo sounds like he would have bad breath. Now, I'm surprised that Next Gen Dad didn't go straight for the gullet and wrote about Rojo sounds like he would chew really loudly, but to each their own, I suppose.
Oh, well, there you go. You wanted your troll. You got a troll.
We did. And please, whether you're trolling us or whether you are saying kind and moderate things, please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. That would help a lot to get our name out there. We will dive straight into things, I think, Rin.
Yeah.
We've given each other a film for this episode, this edition, if you like. What was your offering to me this week?
Because we had so much, you know, love for our Twilight episode, I gave you New Moon. So that's the sequel. And I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about this hot garbage, as you described it in New Moon. So we return to Forks, where Bella is about to celebrate her 18th birthday. Bella is concerned of her constant aging, is not overly enthused about her birthday, you know, worrying about growing old, etc., while her, you know, vampire boyfriend Edward remains young forever. The Cullens throw Bella a birthday party when, you know, while she's opening her gifts, she gives herself a paper cut, you know, sending Jasper, Edward's, I don't know, a foster brother, adopted brother, into a blood frenzy, right? Anyway, this results in Edward breaking up with Bella because of his fears of hurting Bella.
I don't mean to be crass, but does Bella have to be selective about what, you know, days she goes over to the Cullens' house?
Are you talking about a particular time of month, maybe?
Yeah, I am. I'm not being crass. I'm just being genuinely curious.
I mean,
like, why
look,
hasn't this happened before?
One would think you'd be like, oh, maybe I'll not go to the Cullens' house this week.
Yeah.
I'll continue, right?
Smart.
You know, anyway, so Bella breaks up with her and she becomes very, very depressed and just sits in her room for months on end and blah, blah, blah. So as a result, the family leave Forks, leaving behind a broken-hearted Bella. Months pass and Bella begins a friendship with Jacob. Little does she know Jacob is actually a shapeshifter who transforms into a wolf. Your mind is blown. I can see it in your face. Turns out wolves and vampires are enemies stretching back centuries. You know, throughout the films, there's this love triangle between the three of them. You know, Bella still being in love with Edward and Jacob being in love with Bella. You know, what happens next? You know, you'll have to give it a look to find out, but please tell me what you thought of New Moon.
I thought New Moon was better than the first film.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I would say this is a slight step up from the first film. The colour grading has been fixed.
Yes. It was very dark in the first one, wasn't it? Very, very dark.
Very contrasty. It has been fixed. Good to see. I think some of the vampire effects work has also improved. You know, we get to see some kind of decent vampire power beatdowns instead of wasting that on a lame baseball scene kind of thing. There are even stretches of this film that felt like they were from a better film, but unfortunately things take a turn into melodrama territory and it really does get bogged down. This film opens with a quote from Romeo and Juliet, which made me audibly gasp out, "Oh, you wish, Stephanie Meyer. You wish you were on the literary level of Shakespeare. My goodness." Bella's obsession with getting old is troubling.
I'm like, mate, you're only 18. It's fine. You're okay.
Maybe she just needs to get some hobbies because maybe she's just got too much time to think on this mortality stuff.
Bella is someone, she just hyper focuses on Edward and solely Edward, because what we see in the film is she literally sits in her room and they have this scene where I think she's sitting on a chair or on a bed or something and it spins around and the seasons go by. She's not okay. And she's obviously just so focused on him. It's a bit sad.
Doesn't she say she stopped listening to music? You might recall that was the one character trait she had in the first one.
That's right. She always listened to her iPod.
Well, again, what is she? What is she except this absolute husk of a character? Edward leaves Bella because he doesn't want to turn her because of this whole thing about if he turns her, then her soul will be damned. And he doesn't want to put her through that. What exactly that means in the context of the Twilight universe is never super clear, but it's something he doesn't want to do to her. And then he kind of just leaves her lost in the woods while he goes off to Italy.
Is that when she is lying in the woods on the floor and then is it Charlie finds her? Or?
Well, it was lucky that a random shirtless man picked her up and took her back to her father's house.
Yes, I forgot that.
I mean, Edward, what are you doing, mate? And then she suffers from these, let's just call them heartbreak nightmares while thinking of Edward.
Well, it's kind of when she has that adrenaline pumping through her or a close to death kind of, let's say, situation when she has these apparitions of him, maybe? She sees him. She loves that, obviously, because, like I said, she's hyper-focused on him and she's obsessed and she continues to kind of do these activities, I suppose, that are kind of death-defying to get this glimpse of this individual that she apparently loves so much when it's mate, calm down.
So they're separated physically, but yeah, he has this kind of ghost Edward, if you like, that is kind of warning her to keep her safe / control her. And I was half expecting when we realized it was connected to, reckless activities or whatever, I was half expecting this to go into Crank with Jason Statham, where he has to keep his heart rate up, where she's just doing everything she can to get that Edward hit, burning a cigarette on her arm right now. The reason why I put this film a bump above the last one is because there's not as much Edward as there was in the first one.
So you're Team Jacob then?
Well, I'll get to that. The best part of this film is when Bella and Jacob kind of start spending time together because you're like, oh my goodness, look at this, an actual potentially healthy relationship where Jacob is very polite, he's very practical, he can fix stuff.
And he gets her out and about too, and she starts developing a hobby.
And I was starting to think, this is so good for her. It feels like she's moving on from this really manipulative guy. And here's this person who's known her for a long time, being so kind. They go and see a movie together. Ah, yes, Face Punch. I guess they couldn't afford the rights to something. Face Punch it is. Willem screams and everything. You know what? I was getting to the point where I'm like, I think I'm Team Jacob. I think I'm good on this. But then the film takes this hard turn into melodrama where Jacob rapidly starts to distance himself from Bella because he is... I don't know. This was not explained well about why he's tied to this pack of werewolves and why they have some kind of sway over his role and destiny and attitude. The symbolism and the metaphors came out where he starts saying to people, don't make me angry because I'll turn into a wolf and I can't be responsible. I'm just like, well, there you go. Another toxic male who says he's not responsible for his actions. So Jacob is really just the flip side of Edward, and the film goes downhill from there.
From memory, in the book, I guess they went into it maybe a bit more.
Cool. I don't care.
No, exactly. he's going through like a second puberty, maybe, when he's becoming a wolf.
All of a sudden just becomes super aggressive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, there goes the neighborhood, you know?
But it's interesting with New Moon because we meet quite a few new characters as well. And so, we meet the wolf pack. Later on in the film, we meet the Volturi as well.
Or the Voltaren, as I refer to them.
But yeah, so they're kind of like the vampire governing body of the world, essentially. So, there's quite a few new characters that pop up throughout the film. It's definitely done, I think, better. The action scenes are done better.
Yeah, a few departments where it steps up. The first reveal of the wolves is not great on a CGI perspective. They seem to have trouble blending them in with the forest, and it's a little bit uncanny. We'll get to the last act of this film, which is Edward says that he is so distraught that he's going to force the Voltaren to kill him by revealing himself to this city of Italian people. Now, the Voltaren are obsessed with secrecy, which doesn't really make sense to me because they live in this bloody village with so many people in it. Like, they're right there in this castle. Why are they not hiding themselves away like Edward's family are?
I guess they don't go out of said building and people come in like the tour guides and then they eat them.
But this is the same problem from the first film. Of course, I can suspend my disbelief, but in the first film, I couldn't believe that Bella was the first one to figure out that the Cullens were vampires. And here, I can't believe that someone has not noticed that there are dozens of Italian tourists dropping off the face of the map when they get devoured by this royal family.
And they have red eyes. Like when they drink human blood, they have red eyes. So it's not like they do stand out, compared to like the Cullens, for example, who have like a hazel eye who can potentially blend.
Yeah, a few last things. I lolled as well when they flew to Italy to try and save Edward, and they immediately jumped in this sports car. I'm just like, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
I love how they're like, quickly, let's get to Italy. It's like, it probably takes like so long to get there, but they're like, Edward must be walking really, really slowly, right? To like disrobe and open up to the
slow-mo. The Voltaren are amazed that Bella seems resistant to their mind powers or whatever. And I'm guessing that in a future book, we're going to find out why that is, or maybe not. Is this actually true? Because there's a scene earlier in the film where she tells off Jasper for changing her mood or something. Didn't that happen?
Oh, he kind of has like a charm or something, doesn't he? That could be a plot hole because I think the theory is like a lot of their effects don't happen to her. Edward can't read her mind, for example, and that's why he's so interested in her. Maybe he doesn't actually like her. He just doesn't like that he can't read her thoughts. I don't know.
It ends up with them promising the Voltaren that
Stop calling them that.
They will put Emil gel all over themselves. No, it ends up with them promising the Voltaren that they are going to turn Bella eventually, and that if they don't, there's going to be dire consequences.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why even the timeline?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why not hold them at ransom until they turn her right there and then? I don't get why there has to be this gap and they're just going to kind of let them go. Maybe they just like the sport.
I think Alice can kind of manipulate her mind. She can kind of potentially see the future. Like it's not always clear. Like it is linear. Like it can move different ways. So I think if she believes it enough, she can kind of think it in her mind, and that's how they kind of got away with that, I think.
We end the film on possibly the flattest marriage proposal in cinematic history. And then let's move along. Roll the Death Cab for Cutie song. Okay, we're good.
All right, verdict time.
A cut above the first one, but this is still give it a miss. This is not quite hot trash, but it's still misguided. Like I said, there was the potential here for a good film. Hell, maybe Jacob turned out to be like a wholesome dude, and then what if Edward went more toxic and became evil, and then it became about a war between the vampires trying to get Bella and the werewolves protecting them. That sounds more interesting to me.
You have to wait and see, mate.
You're going to give me the rest of the series eventually, aren't you?
It has to happen.
I know the third film was directed by David Slade, of Hard Candy and 30 Days of Night fame. So someone who's actually made a proper vampire film. So I'd be lying if I said I wasn't curious to see what he would do with this kind of world, considering his experience. So we'll see how we go. If you did want to check out the Twilight Saga, New Moon, it is available on Aussie Netflix. Moving on to my recommendation to you,
yes.
Rin, we have Game Night from 2018. Game Night, of course, was co-directed by John Francis Daly of Freaks and Geeks fame. So our film centres on Max, Jason Bateman, and Annie, Rachel McAdams, who meet each other during a pub trivia night, and sparks fly. They end up getting married and sharing a passion for all things competitive board and tabletop gaming. They are trying to have a kid and, not having much success. Max is under a lot of stress. He has a bit of a inferiority complex when he compares himself to his older brother, Brooks, who is like the very successful and show-offish brother. They have a regular game night, though, with their friends Ryan, Kevin, and Michelle, and whatever date that Ryan decides to bring. Brooks arrives to one of these game nights and kind of steals the show and invites everyone over to his own game night. He says it's going to be the best ever and it's going to top everything. And what happens is he is actually abducted during the process of this game night, which everyone who's participating thinks is just part of the show, but lo and behold, it is actually a real abduction. And so we have this quite funny little treasure hunt that our characters take part in, where they think they're participating in something that's been set up but is actually real, and the various crazy places that this one night takes us to. So the film kind of pairs off the different characters. Max and Annie obviously stay together. Kevin and Michelle, who were high school sweethearts and have been married for a long time, are paired up. And during the course of the night, they get into many arguments about a surprise infidelity that has come up in their relationship that happened earlier. And Ryan and his date from work, Sarah, she kind of cottons on that she was only invited to the game night because she's a fair bit more intelligent than the ladies that Ryan kind of brings along. Each of them try to solve the little riddles in their own way. So yeah, kind of jumps off something that's familiar to maybe some of us who are a bit older who kind of want to save money but still want to have a good time, and goes in some interesting new directions. But what were your opening thoughts on this, Rin?
I really liked this movie. I thought it was so funny. I really liked the character Gary, who was the neighbor. He was such a creep. Like he was like very like stoic. Like obviously, he'd played games with them in the past, and him and his wife had divorced, and they stopped inviting him because they were like, "Oh, he's just a creep. Like we're not inviting him." And he'd be out in the street. I think there was this bit where he was collecting the mail. I was like, I like to get the mail in the afternoon because there's no chance that you're going to miss it, kind of thing. And he's just he loves to hold his dog Bastion in like all his scenes. He just cracks me up. But I just thought this movie was actually quite quotable.
We're high-fiving Hitler now?
Yeah, I thought, oh, that's a bit dark, isn't it? I think one of my favorite lines was when Brooks is like, oh, hey guys, come over to my house. We're going to do games night, blah, blah, blah. I've rented this place. And they're like, okay, we'll go to your house. So anyway, Annie and Max are driving to his house. They see this massive, beautiful house. And Annie goes, a guy who rents a house this big must be making up for something pretty small, I'd say. And Max is like, no, I've seen his dick. It's pretty great. And Annie's like, well, I tried.
Tried to be supportive.
Yeah, and it just makes me laugh. Like, you're right, because it's like they have that, Max and Brooks have this, like, competitiveness to them. And there was this, glass table scene, like, gag throughout the movie where, people would fall onto the glass tables and it wouldn't smash like normal in movies. Yeah. But yeah, so I found that quite funny. The scoring within the film, it was kind of like that 80s synthesizer kind of music. And I kind of thought to myself, I think maybe it was like a homage maybe to like the 80s, because a lot of people had game nights, and played charades and board games and what have you. And I don't know, maybe it was just kind of fitting for that kind of, I don't know, storyline. I don't know. When you were talking about that infidelity, and she shows the picture of I won't say who.
Good.
She shows a picture to her husband of the guy, and it definitely does not look like the guy she thinks it is. Really well written. Jason Bateman is hilarious, and so is Rachel McAdams. They have really good comedic chemistry together. But yeah, so no, I really enjoyed this film. It was so funny. But again, I reckon my favorite character was maybe Gary.
Gary, of course, is played by the fantastic Jesse Plemons from Breaking Bad and Friday Night Lights and many other projects.
He was in that episode of Black Mirror. Was it USS Callister?
He was.
As well?
Yes. Bit of a piece of work in there. Otherwise known as Meth Damon, especially when he was on Breaking Bad. That's all the subreddit called him. Oh, how good's Meth Damon?
Oh, that's so funny.
He's so good here. So deadpan and a real scene stealer.
He's so good.
There's some really fantastic little cameos in here. The great Jeffrey Wright gets a few scenes. Chelsea Peretti from Brooklyn Nine-Nine comes up as well. One of the cameos which I found a bit distracting was Michael C. Hall from Dexter comes in quite late in the piece, and I kind of was a bit taken aback.
Were you upset that it wasn't Sigourney Weaver?
No. I was going to say, it made me wonder what he's been doing for the last few years because we haven't seen much of him, and that's fine.
They're rebooting the Dexter series now.
Yeah, I couldn't be less interested, to be honest. Rachel McAdams is so good here. Like, I really wish we could see her do more comedy. Obviously, she did Mean Girls. What do you make of Billy Magnussen as Ryan?
Yeah, he was okay. He was the dumb friend, wasn't he? Like, I love that he just always seemed to have a new girl each week. There's a scene at the start where they kind of they're showing flashbacks and rotating through all the girls he brings each week. And he's like, Heather, stop taking pictures of yourself. Like, how many dog photos do you need?
Yeah, I think Billy's kind of a bit overexposed nowadays, but I thought he was endearing here, and he's a really good foil for Sharon Horgan as Sarah, his Irish date, which he brings along. Lamorne Morris, most known from New Girl, is great as well. Just very funny facial expressions when he's talking to his wife, Michelle. I just like this film because it's kind of a catch-all. I think it has enough appeal that almost anyone can get into part of it. It's not too niche as a comedy, but it's also not too broad. Everyone's going to have a character that they kind of enjoy seeing. Did you have a favourite kind of set piece?
Towards the end, I thought it went a bit wacko. I was like, oh my gosh, this is just like next level. Right?
Sure.
But there was a scene that I did find quite funny, and I had to laugh. It was very like dark humor. Basically, I think there's this thug, and he's about to attack Annie, and then the like wing turbines turn on, and he gets sucked into the wing turbine and dies. And then Annie's just like, yes. Oh no, he died, kind of thing. And I think that's her competitive side being like, yes, he's been foiled. But then she was like, oh wait, he's an actual person and he's dead. And I actually cracked myself up laughing. I couldn't help it. I was like, oh my God, that is hilarious. But yeah, I don't know. There's a few laugh out moments in this movie, and I'm not one to usually laugh that much out loud. Like, I kind of do the sound, when you kind of laugh but not with your mouth. I don't know. It's
bit of a squeamish alert too. There is one scene of pretty graphic self-surgery in this, which you might have issues with.
That was quite funny, actually. Well. Yeah.
If you have trouble with that, maybe see how you go. Is this give it a look or give it a miss?
Yeah, I'm going to say give it a look. It's really funny. It made me laugh a lot. So.
And where can you find it?
I believe you can find it on Binge in Australia.
I feel a little bit anti-Murdoch, but that's fine. If you got Binge, you got Binge. Good stuff. Well, looking ahead, what is our next recommendations? Rin, you for me?
So I think we're going for a Disney flair next week. So for you, I've picked the movie Hercules. I love this film. This is one of my favorites. I think it has one of the best movie soundtracks in the Disney world. And I think it's one of those movies that's quite underrated. You wouldn't put The Lion King and Hercules on the same pedestal per se. I would, but I love it. I hope you enjoy that. But yes, what do you have for me?
I'm giving you a fairly recent film, actually. This only came out this year. It is the musicless animated girl boss film Raya and the Last Dragon.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what you think, because for me, it has a really classic kind of hero's journey structure, along with some absolutely beautiful animation. I'm all about ninjas coming back. I saw Shang-Chi last night, and all about ninjas coming back. And I think we're going to see more of this as the world simps for China's money. If you have a take about any of the films that we've discussed today, where can people find us on socials, Rin?
Yeah, sure. So on our Twitter and Instagram, you can find us at Give It a Look Pod, and our email address is giveitalook1@outlook.com. We're still waiting for our first email. That would be really nice, but I feel like that's also a very early 2000s thing to do. So hit us up anywhere, guys. Socials, emails, wherever.
I'll even take junk email, spam email right now. You must update your PayPal. We have checked your CBA balance. I am a Nigerian prince, etc., etc. Excellent. Well, we hope you join us for some animation fun next week. We will see you then. Rin, signing off with anything?
Just don't forget to follow us on our socials, guys, and subscribe where you listen to your podcasts.
Cow a bunga, dudes.
Eat my shorts. Bye.